I've had a few of my viewers ask about taking apart a freewheel and putting it back together again. So I'm going to go ahead and make a video on how to do that. This is an old freewheel that I really don't care about. It's got some rust on it, but it's kind of a little bit gummed up on the inside, so it'll be a good example to take apart anyway. You want to go ahead and leave it on the wheel to start off with to take it apart. I took this skewer out, and there's these little holes in here, these little divots. You're going to use something like a pin spanner. I've got this one here from Park Tool, and it's got like little pins in there. So these will fit into the little holes there, and I'm going to use this to turn this little lock ring off. Now this lock ring here is reverse threaded, so you're going to turn this clockwise to loosen this. So let me see, go ahead, and it could be very tight. So we'll go ahead and try this here with the pin spanner. And that's not coming off like that. So if that doesn't work, what you're going to do is use like a little punch and a hammer. So I'll get this here, get this in here, and hammer it. And get it to break loose there. Awesome. And I don't want to fully remove this yet, and so it's loose there. So the next thing I want to do is actually remove the freewheel from the wheel. So I have a freewheel remover tool here, and depending on what kind of freewheel you have, you may need a different tool. So from here, when I use this, I'm going to turn this counterclockwise to unscrew this from the wheel, and this could potentially be very tight. So go ahead, get that broken loose. Once you get it broken loose, just go ahead and unscrew this from the wheel. Like that. Okay, now I want to remove this little ring here, and I want to be careful not to lose the bearings out of the back side here, so I'm going to kind of hold this up, and I want to unscrew this. I just have like a skewer here that I'm just going to use to spin this ring off, and I want to kind of hold this part in here so it doesn't turn. So, and just kind of spin this off like this. And there's all the bearings in there. So I'll set this down here, and I want to keep track of how many bearings are on this side, how many bearings are on the other side. So this is like a little bit magnetic, so I can just kind of lift the bearings out here like this. And that's all the bearings out of there. Let's go ahead and place them in this so I don't lose them. Keep them all these together. And put these aside. Now I can lift this up, and there's bearings on the other side here. There. And so I want to keep these bearings separate from the other bearings, and they're probably the same size. And so there's the pawls right there, and there's all the bearings there. So I'm going to go ahead and take all those bearings off. Like that. Now I want to clean all these parts. And there's like all the inside there. So I'm going to clean all this. Okay, I cleaned all these parts here off using some paint thinner, and I'm ready to put this thing back together. Okay, so I got this part here, and what I need to do is lubricate the parts. So I have my grease gun here, and it's filled with marine grease. What I'm going to do is just get a little bit of grease down around the pawls here, and like that, and then work them like that in there. Okay, so I got that. Now I want to run a bead of grease down around the race here to help hold the bearings into place here. Now here comes the tedious part. You have to take the bearings, and these were the bearings that came from the bottom side, and there were 39 bearings is what I counted. You know, take one bearing at a time and just set it down into the grease. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way around. Okay, got all those done. What I want to do is screw this part back onto the hub, but first what I want to do is put a thin coating of grease around the threads here. This make it a little easier to screw on, and also protect it because this is aluminum and that part's steel, and you'll get galvanic corrosion between the two. And anyway, you don't need a lot, just a thin coating, and this will just make it a little easier to screw on here. And then very carefully screw this onto the hub. You just screw this clockwise, make sure it's threaded. And be careful not to lose any bearings. Like that. And I don't need to tighten it down. Okay, now I want to get ready to put this part on. Before I put this part on, I want to go ahead and run a little bit of grease down and around in here. Just kind of lubricate it down, especially on these teeth here where the pawl is going to go. And I don't need a lot. Just run a thin layer down over these teeth here. Like that. And then, while I'm at it, I want to go ahead and put a little bit of grease down around in here, this race down here, because there's going to be bearings going down and around here. Like that. I can just smooth it out with my finger a little bit. And then also, there were a couple spacers that came off of here. There was a slightly thicker one. I'm going to slide that on there. And then there was a thinner one, and that'll go right on there. And what these spacers do is that when I go to put this cone part on here like this, I can tighten this down all the way. These spacers are meant so that when I tighten these down all the way, that it has the right spacing, that it's not going to crush down on the bearings there. They're going to be in here. So now what I can do is very carefully screw this part on here like this, and I want to set this down. If I turn this just gently counterclockwise, it'll go over the pawls. And knocked a couple bearings out of place there. So I want to get it in there without knocking the bearings out of place. So carefully just kind of, and there, should fit in nice like that. And I can turn it counterclockwise like that. Now it's time to put these bearings in here. I counted 31 on this side. So I'm going to drop these down into place, down into the grease in this little race around in here. There. I got all those bearings into there. Okay, now I want to install this cone here. So I'm going to set this into here, and I can tighten this, once I get it threaded, tighten this by turning it counterclockwise, and it should thread on pretty easy. And then once I get it in there, now I can use my spanner wrench here to go ahead and tighten this like that. Now to get it tight, I'm going to go ahead and use my chain whip to hold this in place while I turn this like this. I get this nice and tight like that. Now I can go ahead and use my freewheel tool, tighten the freewheel all onto the hub all the way. And there. Now the freewheel's all put together, going nice and tight that way, and it's catching the other way. And that is how you disassemble and assemble a freewheel. Anyway, I hope this helped. I hope you found this interesting. If you liked the video, please click the like. I always appreciate getting likes on my videos. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. You can click the subscribe button. There's a big yellow button down here. Click that, and you subscribe to my channel, and you see new videos as they come out. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.